But I am just believing that there are some people that are here today, those of you that are watching online, where God is going to begin to stir some things up inside of you. I know that we have been going through so many just horrible things this past year, even over the last several weeks with, again, people, police issues and with African-American males and all these things that are burdening us and saddening. It's this heavy weight that is on our country and is on us as believers. But I'm believing that as believers, we're not just going to give in to how everybody else is acting and how everybody else responds, but that we're going to say, no, God is going to begin to stir something up inside of us, that the Spirit is going to begin to stir in this place, and that some things that you used to do and you used to go to and you used to believe, that it's going to start coming back into your life, some prayer life, some intercession, some fasting, that there are some things that you kind of lost a little bit, but it's going to begin to come back in your life. And so we are just declaring that it is a comeback season. It's comeback season. I got my specialty 1 of 1 t-shirt. I made this right here, Rocky Balboa, Rocky 4. But it's comeback season. I was thinking about this because I know some of you are like, well, Pastor, how do you just say you just say that because it sounds cool or whatever. Here's what I need you to understand. It's not that it just happened that it's a comeback. What we are trying to do and what we hopefully will accomplish over the next several weeks and however long God wants us to take this is not necessarily making a comeback happen or forcing God to bring a comeback into our life. It's making you aware of the comeback that you already have available in your life. We celebrated Easter just a few weeks ago. Jesus has already given us the greatest comeback. He has the keys to death, hell, and the grave. Every battle we face, we don't really need a comeback because he already did it. But we've just got to step into the authority and the understanding and own this comeback that God is leading us into. We got to come back to the plan of God in our lives. We got to come back to the Spirit of God. I love the Spirit that has been moving over our church the last couple of months and just beginning to do incredible things that we've had a vision for and a dream for. But we have just said as leaders and as pastors, lead pastors or senior pastors, that we are not going to step back anymore. That we're not going to lean back anymore. That the things that are coming in, yes, it may be challenging. It may be weird. We may have to do different stuff and change procedures. But we are just declaring that God already has given us this opportunity. And so now we are just stepping into what God has made available to us. And here's why I'm so passionate about this. And I'm already preaching. If you haven't noticed, this is what that is. I got my sweat rag, so... Thank you, Jesus. But I am so burdened by this because there are so many believers. And if you're not a believer, if you're kind of new to church, still trying to figure things out, we're so thankful that you're here. But there are so many believers that have been attacked over and over and over. And that's why I wore this t-shirt today kind of as a little illustration, because I feel like many of us have been in a boxing match and we've been getting hit over and over and over. And maybe for you it feels like if you've ever been in the ocean before and you try to come up for air and you're like, man, that horrible thing happened. Maybe I can get a little bit of air, and you go up and another wave hits you and it feels and it's just wave after wave and setback after setback and problem after problem. And it seems like we have been in this boxing match and we're just getting hit and hit and hit and hit. But the thing is we have to understand as believers that even though we may be getting hit, that we have an authority and we have a power that we can begin to step into, that we have power over the enemy. So even though he's been hitting you, even though he's been attacking you, I just need to declare, and I hope there's some people in this place, maybe 1 or 2, that are just going to say, hey, I'm going to step back in the ring. Even though I've been knocked back, even though I've been knocked down, even though I've been disappointed, even though so many horrible things have happened in my life and my family and my health, I'm going to keep stepping up. I'm going to keep getting up. Because the word says, when I fall, here's the thing, you're going to fall. He's going to hit you. What Mike Tyson say, everybody got a plan until they get hit in the face. So just letting you know, get a plan, Because you're going to get hit with something if you haven't already, which I think everybody in this place, we've all been hit with something over the last year, over the last several months. So many families in our church, even right now, Pastor Jonathan and some of our elders and leaders just went to the hospital. We have so many situations going on right now where it just seems like we are getting hit over and over and over and over. But it says, when I fall, rejoice not against me, O mine enemy, for when I fall, I shall arise. So you can knock me down 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 20 times, 30 times. But as long as I know the authority that God has given me, I'm going to keep getting up and getting up and getting up and getting up. And I'm going to step back into that ring and say, hey, what else you got? What else? You already hit me once. What other trick you got? I'm ready for it now. And so I believe that we have to understand where we are, that we don't have to keep taking these hits and taking these things. And I just, even in my own personal life, about 1.5 years ago, right here, right where that camera is right there, at our October 1st Wednesday in 2019, we were doing first Wednesday services before COVID. Probably definitely the most intense spiritual attack I've ever been under. Hopefully it's that I'll ever be under. But it was bad. And it was just Hannah, it was my dad, Pastor Jonathan. If y'all don't know, that's my dad right there. We kind of look a little bit alike, just a little bit. But it was bad, and I would legitimately, I haven't talked about this a whole lot, but I would legitimately, what I would call, and I know it's probably in the technical term, but having a nervous breakdown, where I could not articulate what I was feeling. I was having suicidal thoughts. I was just like, I just cannot take these hits any longer. I know God's got me. I know I'm in the ring. I know I haven't done, but I'm getting hit, and I'm getting hit, and I'm getting hit, and I just feel like I can't take these hits any longer. I think there might be some people in here today, some people that are watching online, where maybe you've reached that point where you're like, I know God's got me, but how many more times am I going to keep getting hit? I know I can stand back up, but I'm a little shy to stand back up because I know if I stand back up, I'm going to get hit again. And so right now, Pastor, if I'm being honest, I kind of just want to stay down a little bit because I don't want to get hit again. I kind of want to just throw in the towel. I kind of want to just I just kind of want to give it up. And so when we were praying, and again, it was really, really rough time. And I remember Dad said something along the lines of, I don't know if he said son or Alex or whatever he said, but he said, you really have 2 options. You can either give up on the destiny that God has over your life, and the enemy will stop hitting you and stop attacking you, because if he keeps hitting you, you're probably going to lose your mind. It's going to be real bad. So that's option number 1. You can throw in the towel and just be a great person, be a great husband, love God, but kind of give up on the thing that he's hitting you about. Or you can stand up and start to hit back. You can stand up and say, I'm not just going to take these hits. I'm not just going to take these punches, but I'm going to begin to punch back. Even though I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where the attack's coming from. I'm bloody, my eyes are swollen. I don't know the prayers to pray. I don't know what to do. You just have to stand up and say, I'm going to begin to fight back. I'm going to start my comeback. I'm going to start to push back what the enemy has been putting in my life. I'm going to start to give him a little taste of his own medicine. I love in the final scene of Rocky 4 where Rocky's just getting beat. Like this dude, Ivan, he's bigger, he's faster, he had all the machines. Rocky's like carrying around a log, like he don't got none of the modern stuff, like got sweatshirts, whatever. And he's about to, and he wants to give up. And every time they ding the round, he goes to the corner and he's sitting there and Rocky, and it's like, I want to give up. And they say, he says, I can't, there's 3 of them. I see 3 of them. And Paulie, his trainer, says, well, just punch the one in the middle then. And I think there are some of you where it's like, man, attacks are coming in so many different areas of my life, and I don't even know which one I need to come against right now. You just need to attack whatever one's in front of you, whatever one you feel like you have authority over, whatever one you can call out. You need to begin to plead the blood of Jesus and begin to fight back what the enemy is doing in your life. And so I just have to encourage you with this today, that you just got to keep coming back. You just got to keep getting up. See, that's the incredible thing about the kingdom of God, because I don't know if you've ever seen this in a movie before. Some of y'all, I know y'all's past, y'all might have done this in real life, but you ever heard of a fixed fight before? Where it's like, hey, we're going to have a fight, and you're going to fight for about 6 rounds, 7 rounds, make it look good, and then you're going to go down, and the other guy's going to win, but we're going to try to make it look real. And the thing that we have to understand with the enemy is that it's a fixed fight. We already know that he's defeated. Now, that doesn't mean the hits aren't real. That doesn't mean the blood's not real. That doesn't mean the swollen eyes aren't real. You're getting really hit. But at the end of the fight, we know who's going to have the victory. So all you have to do is keep getting back up. You don't even got to hit them that good. You just got to stay in long enough for them to ding the bell and make it to the next round and make it to the next round and make it to the next week and make it to next year. And don't go off on your boss this Friday. Wait till next Friday. Like you just got to keep getting back up, because we know that the kingdom of God is undefeated. It's undefeated. We say it around here. It's an old preacher saying, but we already know who won. We read the back of the book. Like, we're not waiting to see how this thing turns out. So we've got to live through it. We've got to go through the struggle. We've got to take the hits. We've got to take the punches. We got to kind of dodge some things. As I was looking up this boxing stuff, there was this comment that said, Rocky was the best defender. He blocked all of his shots with his head. A few of y'all got that. You're not supposed to get hit in the head. You're supposed to, anyways. So you may be going through these things where you're getting hit, but you have to understand that you have an authority. And the only way, and trust me, I'm going to get to the scripture in just a minute. Don't worry about it. But the only way that the enemy can win in the fight against you is if you quit. Because he knows at the end of the fight, the decision's already been made. So the only way that the enemy can win this fight against you, against your relationship, against your family, against whatever, the only way that it can win is if you throw in the towel. So if you can just keep standing back up, and that's what I want to encourage you with today, that there are some people in here where I just feel like you just need to begin to stand back up. I know we've been through a lot. I know even people, I don't want to begin to say anything because I don't want anybody to lock eyes with anybody and you start, I know how y'all church, you like, oh, he's talking about them, But there are people that have gone through so many things, even right now going through so many things, but can I encourage you just to keep standing back up? If you're stumbling, if you're falling over, if you're bleeding, if you're sweating, but just keep standing back up, because this is going to be your comeback season. Come on, can we just give God some praise in this place? Amen, amen. Thank you, Nina. It's going to be our comeback season. And we're going to be talking for the next several weeks about some biblical characters, talking about a lot about Joseph. Not, if you're new to church, not Joseph, the dad of Jesus, but Joseph in the Old Testament. There's a lot that we can learn about his life, but he had a pretty great comeback story. And I don't want to preach too much because I don't want to ruin the next couple of weeks, because I was like, man, I could preach a whole bunch. I'm like, well, let's just wait till next. Come back next week. That's why you got to come back next week, okay? You can come back next week to hear the rest? Okay. But Joseph, I want to read this passage to you in Genesis chapter 45, starting in verse 3, the New King James Version. And now this is at kind of the end of his comeback story. How many of you watch those shows where it's like, it shows you the end and then you got to kind of go back. It says like 72 hours later and then you figure out how everything. So that's what's about to happen. So Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Does my father still live? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed in his presence. And if you don't know the story, I'm about to tell you why they were dismayed in his presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, please come near to me. Now, can I just take a little station break? I know I've been real preachy, and I know some of y'all are in here like, these people are crazy up in here. It's just because we love God. We excited. It's all right. They were going crazy at the Austin Fair Day yesterday, so we can go crazy about Jesus. Come on, somebody. But can I just give you a little piece of advice right here? There are some things in your life where it is a problem and you're trying to keep it away from you. And the only way that you're really going to be able to solve it and get a healthy resolution is by bringing it near to you. Like I said, I'm going to just take a little stage. I know y'all real hyped up, but now I'm going to just kind of let you put a little salt on it real quick. That there are some of us where we are trying to fix a situation when the person, the situation, whatever, where it is far away from us. But let me tell you this, distance always creates distortion. So if you are trying to solve something, if you're trying to have a comeback in your relationship, a comeback with your family, and you're like, I'm trying to work things out with them, I'm trying to make it good, but you're going to this person, and they're telling this person, no, you've got to draw it near to you so that you can actually begin to address some issues. Neither one of the brothers nor Joseph wanted to get near to each other. You're about to see that if you don't know already. Neither one of them wanted to get close to each other because they're like, I may kill you, you may kill me. We're just going to see how it all works out. But you need to draw some things near to you. There are some people in your life, sometimes it's good to keep your enemies close. Sometimes it's good to keep your problems close. Because if not, that distance is going to create issues, going to create distortion. So please come near to me. So they came near. Then he said, I am Joseph, your brother. Now catch this. Whom you sold into Egypt. Whom you sold into Egypt. That's why they were a little scared to talk to him. So let's rewind a few verses, a couple decades back to Genesis chapter 37. And I'm going to go real quick because I know most of y'all saw, Joseph, Prince of Dreams when you were a little kid, Disney movie. You've seen all, you know the story. But Joseph was about 16, 17 years old, and God gave him a vision about his future. God gave him a prophetic dream, and it was metaphorical, and he didn't really understand it. And it was a true dream from God. But like many people do when they're kind of a little immature on that type of stuff, you come on Wednesday nights, practically prophetic, you're going to learn about this sort of thing. He's like, I'm going to go tell my brothers my dream. If my brothers already don't like me because I'm the youngest and I'm our dad's favorite and we're a blended family and there's like 4 baby mamas and it's already a whole big mess. Like y'all thought the Bible was, it's real life. So I'm going to go tell all my brothers that they're going to bow down to me one day. Not a good idea. Some of y'all just need to keep that in here. Write it in your little journal. When it happens, you can say, oh, I wrote it right here. It's good. But he said, all of you, even your parents, you're all going to bow down to me. And I'm going to be real special. And I already got my bedazzled jacket, the coat of many colors. And I'm going to be your ruler. And the thing is Joseph was immature in his interpretation. He really didn't address it the right way because he was making it all about him. He was making it all about his status. He wasn't looking at it of how is God going to use this destiny to help other people and affect other people. He was just saying, my status is you're going to bow down to me. I'm going to be better than you. I'm going to be wealthier than you. I'm going to be more spiritual. Y'all are all going to bow down to me. Well, that worked out really well for him because his brother says, let's kill him. Like legit, like we're going to kill him. We're going to stage this death. We're going to act like an animal did it. And then one of the brothers said, no, we don't want that on our conscience. Let's just instead sell him to these traffickers and sell him into slavery. And we'll say that he died, but none of us want to be murderers. So they sell him into slavery. So it goes real quick from God, you gave me a destiny. You gave me a dream. I'm going to have people bowing down to me. I got my bedazzled jacket. And now it seems like all of that is ruined. All of that is over. And it's a setback. It's a setback. And so many of us, God gives us a dream, gives us a future. And maybe you've been holding on to it. Maybe you haven't told a whole lot of people about it, but you've been holding on to it. And it seems like ever since you got the dream, you haven't gotten any closer to the dream coming true. It seems like, in fact, it's gotten less and less realistic of it coming true. It's become less and less of a reality. You've gotten farther and farther away from this destiny that you thought God put on your life. You've been moving further and further away. So not only was he sold into slavery, then when he was sold into slavery, he was taken to Egypt and he was bought by a very wealthy family, a man named Potiphar, and he became a really great servant in Potiphar's house. And then Potiphar's wife tried to sexually assault him and he refused. He didn't want to do that, but he didn't want to dishonor God. And so what she did is she actually flipped the script and falsely accused that he tried to sexually assault her. So now you go from being, I'm going to be, y'all bowing down to me. I got the coat of many, I'm going to be the dude, to now I'm a slave. Now I'm serving these people I don't even know. I'm in a culture that I don't know. I'm in a language that I don't know. I've never eaten this food before. This is so far away from my family, so far away from what I thought God was going to do in my life. Now I'm getting falsely accused of this stuff, and now I've ended up in prison. And so at least before I kind of had some freedom and I was, had some rights and that sort of thing. Now I'm just chilling out in prison. And then even when I'm in prison, I make some friends, and then they leave, and I try to help them. I try to interpret some dreams in them. And then when they get out, because of what I did for them, they forget about me. I interpreted the dream of the cupbearer, and he got back to his position with Pharaoh, and then he forgot about me. So I've been abandoned by my family. I've been ostracized. I've had my dignity and my rights taken away from me. I've been falsely accused, and now I'm forgotten about. I'm lonely. No one remembers me. My family thinks I'm dead. No one's even looking for me. They think I'm long gone. So God, how can you get me from here to that destiny that you have for me? How are you going to get me to come back to all that you've spoken over my life? God, I remember 2013. You gave me the word. I remember 2005. I remember that conference. I remember that. And it seems like I've just been set back and set back and set back and set. And it seems like I will never reach the dream and the destiny that you spoke to me, God. You said this was going to happen. And so he's been getting hit. He's been getting knocked further and further off of the path, further and further off of his plan. I don't know what he thought his plan was going to be. I don't know if he thought that his father would kind of turn everything over to him and then he would be able to force his brothers to bow down. I don't know what he thought his plan was, but obviously he is no longer in his plan. Obviously, he is no longer in his area where he understands what to do. You ever just been outside of what you know what to do? Like you just don't know what to do. I went to a laundromat a couple weeks ago. I didn't know what to do because I'm like, coins. Like I need some quarters. Like where are the quarters? She's like, we don't have quarters. I'm like, okay, well, can I get some cash? We don't have cash. I'm like, well, can I use my credit card? No, you can't use your credit. I'm like, what in the world? I don't know what to do. So I'm trapped. But what I believe God was speaking to me again while I was trying to fall asleep, but one of y'all was keeping me up. Somebody online calling you out. It is what if, as we've been talking about a setback and being set up for our comeback and being set up for all that God has for us, is like, man, I want to be set up, but right now it's just setback, setback, setback. Could it be that every time we've been knocked out of our plans, that we've been knocked out of our path, that we've been removed from what we thought we were supposed to do or how we were going to achieve or how we were going to reach that thing? Could it be that every time we've been knocked in a different direction that is not our plan, that it's actually taking us closer to the plan and the purpose that God has for our life? Now, I need you to understand this, that you thought that you had it figured out and you've been getting knocked around, and I'm not saying all of that was caused by God, but in Genesis chapter 50, we won't get there today, but actually in the story of Joseph, he said, what you meant for evil, God turned it around and used it for my good. And so even what the enemy used to knock me off, he thought he was going to knock me back. He thought he was going to knock me out. He thought I wasn't going to stand back and come back again. Actually, he was knocking me closer to God's purpose for my life. He was knocking me into my destiny. So the farther you get away from your plan, it could be the closer you're getting to God's plan. The more you think you can't do it, that's a great place for God to step in when only He can do it. So he had the wrong plan. We kind of pick up from his life. You know, I don't really think that the dream was so much of an issue, and people are like, man, Joseph got haters. I got haters when I tell everybody my dream. No, Joseph was just not a good people person. He did not have good people skills. You don't wake up at the breakfast table and say, hey, you're going to bow down to me. It's like, no, that's not how. It's like, no, you just mean. That's why people don't like you. Oh, Lord, So it's knocking him back. It was setting him back. And he felt like he was abandoned. God, how am I ever going to get back to what you had for me? My dreams are broken. My destiny is destroyed. The enemy's been hitting me and beating me and coming against me. And I just don't know what I'm here in a pit. I'm here in prison. And we're going to talk about more about that when you're in that type of situation, when you're stuck. But I'm here. And God, how are you ever going to get me back to that place? But I think sometimes we have to understand that shift that happens in our life, sometimes where it hurts a little bit. You ever had something dislocated before? And it hurts a little bit when you got to get popped back in. So I would kind of rather it stay dislocated for a second because it's going to hurt when it gets popped back in. And so sometimes we would rather stay, well, at least I know this pain. At least I've made myself comfortable in the prison. At least I know where I'm at in my life. At least I know how to rule this place. At least I've made friends here. I made friends with the guard. They treat me well. And God, I'm not really sure if I want you to set me back on track and to kind of pop that back in there. And it might hurt a little bit for a little while, but God is trying to set some things right back. Come on. When we talk about a setback, I think sometimes it's not necessarily you stepping backwards. It's God trying to set some things back into alignment where you have been out of alignment in your life and your thoughts and your righteousness and your faith, that you have been knocked out, and God is saying, I'm going to set you back into place. And it might hurt a little bit. We might have to put a cast on it. You might have to wear some crutches for a little bit. But if I can set it back right now, eventually you're going to be able to step into all that God has for you. So a setback isn't always going backwards. Sometimes it's just setting you back in the right place. Because you were trying to do things on your own way. You were trying to, okay, God, well, you gave me the vision. You gave me the destiny. You gave me the dream. Now I got it from here. And God said, no, baby. I'm going to, put you back in a place real quick. I'm going to pop you back into place. But maybe you're in this place and maybe you're watching online where you're saying, man, Pastor, this has been great. This is awesome. Worship was awesome. You got that orange t-shirt on. I can see you real good, high vis. But I just don't see that for my life. I just don't see. I know how he did it for Joseph, and I know how he did it for all these other people that have been kind of out of alignment. That's what I think is interesting, where sometimes we think that all the people in the Bible had it all together, but when you start going back of where, Noah was a drunk and Abraham was a liar and Joseph did this and, Moses was a murderer and going to the New Testament, Peter, cut somebody's ear off and denied Jesus and, all these different, and we're like, man, they got it, but I just don't see that for my life. I just don't see how God can put it, because again, I'm forgotten. I'm lonely here. I don't have anybody to support me. I don't have anybody to encourage me. I don't have anybody to lift me up. I don't have a prayer partner. I'm here, and I just don't see how that is going to happen in my life. I want to challenge you for a few moments. We just got a few more minutes, and I can't wait to get back into worship. Just incredible worship today. But I want to challenge you of what perspective and what lens are you looking at your situation through? Because see, Joseph couldn't see the vision on his own either. Just stick with me here for a second. Where do you see dreams? When you're sleeping. What are your eyes doing when you're sleeping? They're closed. So why do we say, okay, God, I'm going to let you show me the vision when my eyes are closed, and show me the dream when my eyes are closed? Maybe not physically, but maybe spiritually. Maybe you just weren't open to God. I'm gonna let you do it. But from this point on, I've got to open my eyes, and I've got to make sure that I can see it with my own eyes. I've got to make sure that I can see the path. I love, there's a pastor that I love where he puts it this way, where he says, sight is what I see when my eyes are open. Sight is what I can see right in here with you. I can see all the people in here. I can see the cameras. I can see the lights. They're blinding me. I can see the TV back there. I can see the ceiling that's 2 inches above my head, so I can't really jump up here. I can see all this, but there are some things that I can't see unless my eyes are closed. No, I need you to get this. There are some things that even if I were to begin to articulate them just like Joseph, where you'd probably think I was crazy too, because there are some things that I can see when my eyes are closed that don't make sense when my eyes are open. No. So sight is what I see when my eyes are open, but vision is what I see when my eyes are closed. And so when God gives us a vision for our future, you may not be able to see it, what's in front of you. You have to understand that when my eyes are closed, God's going to lead me not by sight, but by faith. I'm going to walk by faith. And wherever he leads me, I'm going to step into the vision. And when everybody else around me says, I can't see that, that don't make sense to me, I'm going to say it's not, because my eyes are closed. And I can see something in the spirit that you can't see in the natural. I I can see something right now. Right now with my eyes, I see 115 chairs and 9-foot ceilings. Trust me, I've been up and down a ladder enough. I know how much they are. But when I close my eyes, I start to see stadiums. When I close my eyes, I start to see mission trips. When I close my eyes, I start to see conferences. When I close my eyes, I start to see a revival on UT. When I close my eyes, I start to see a rehab and addiction recovery center. When I close my eyes, I can see things that don't make sense. So there are people that could get, and trust me, they do. I know y'all love us, but me and Pastor Jonathan, we get some hate mail. It's interesting. Like, it's weird hate mail too. Like, I'm like, bro, this is just dumb. Like, if you had a little bit better grammar, maybe I'd be offended, but I'm gonna just. But there are people, you could even be watching our live stream. Somebody get on here like, man, he's saying all, just look around. Look at all that. Look what they're doing, man. They're in that little place, and they're in Round Rock, and man, nobody even knows what Round Rock is. Like, why is it even called Round Rock, and why is the rock even round? Like, is that natural, or did somebody do that? And I just don't see it happening there. I just don't see it happening that way. I just don't see it happening where a family and a couple that have been in ministry for 30 plus years come, and their 22-year-old son is like, I'm gonna plant the church with y'all, and I'm gonna be the pastor too, and I'm gonna come in with you. And I just don't see that working out. But here's the thing. At one point, I couldn't see this either. Because see, we were in a living room, and we had no money and no place to meet. And it was just like 4 of us showing up at the meetings. And we're like, man, we're going to change the world. Is anybody else coming? Can we just wait 5 more minutes, maybe? Text some people? Just hire some people to get here, please. Give you free anything, please. So at one point, even what I see in front of me right now with my sight, when I had my eyes closed, that's what I saw. And when I opened my eyes, all I saw was a coffee shop, or all I saw was a small group in a home. We're talking about this church called Oasis that's going to be multicultural, and it's going to have vibrant worship, and we're going to preach, and we're going to sweat, but then we're also going to reach people that don't really know a whole lot about church. And we have, and it's like back then, it was like, that's crazy. But I saw it when my eyes were closed. And so what lens are you looking at your situation? Are you looking around with your sight and saying, this doesn't make sense, Pastor? You don't know my background. You don't know the letters I've been getting. You don't know the dates that I have set. You don't know. And I'm saying, yeah, I don't. But that's sight. That's not vision. That's not what God is speaking to you, that there's a comeback season coming. You're like, there's no way I can have a comeback. No, there's a comeback season coming, and you're going to step up, and you're going to push back the enemy, and you're going to take back your territory, and you're going to take back everything that's stolen from you. And you're like, but I don't see it. I don't see it. So we got to walk by faith and not by sight. You know, what we have to realize is all of us, just as humans, is we are always going to focus on ourselves more than anything else. We are always focused on what can I see for me? How is this going to work out for me? How many of you know when you take a group photo, we did this just a few weeks ago at Easter. When you take a group photo, what's the first thing everybody does? How do I look? Well, I look pretty good, but you look ugly, and we got to take another one. Well, what if I look ugly in the next one? You know, how do I look though? I don't like the way my hair is. So I just figured it out. I don't know if y'all realize this or not. My wife likes to take a lot of pictures, so I just figured it out. I'm gonna help you out. They can take pictures for 20 minutes. I stand just like this. I do not move. I do not move. They say, oh, we're gonna take another one. Cool. I'm still good. Y'all not gonna get me slipping. I'm good. But we always want to focus on ourselves. We always want to focus on the dream is about me. The vision is about me. The destiny is about me. It's about my status. It's about other people bowing down to me. It's about other people thinking that I'm something great. It's about me showing off to other. It's about me. And so I think, and I'm just going to kind of drip this a little bit because I think this might be what I preach on next week, but I think sometimes we have to realize that's not about us. I know that was real profound right there, but it ain't all about you. See, it was his interpretation. And this is why, please, if you're a person that does have dreams or you're interested in this sort of thing, we do teaching on Wednesday nights. We do different stuff because you can get really tripped up where you may see something that is from God. But depending on your influences and depending on your background or depending on what other people say, you can start to interpret it in the wrong way. And so instead of focusing on the wheat stalks and instead of focusing on the other parts of the dream, all Joseph saw was, y'all are going to be bowing down to me. That I'm going to be the center of attention, that this is all about me. See, it was all about his status. It was all about what he could do. And I think sometimes we go through the setbacks, and again, I'm not saying that God did things in your life. Maybe he did. I think there's sometimes where God does put us in hard situations. I'm not going to say all that's the enemy. I think sometimes God does put us in hard situations. But I think sometimes we have to go through the setbacks. We have to go through the pain. We have to go through getting knocked a couple times because we've been a little hard-headed and you need to get slapped upside the head a couple times. That was too real because y'all was like, oh, I'm a laugh, but yeah, that's me. Worship team, you guys can begin to come. I want to go back to where we left off, and we left on verse number 4 in Genesis chapter 45. And again, this is kind of towards the end of the story, so please come back these next several weeks. And this is really, there's kind of a double kind of meaning to this comeback series. When we originally planned, again, I was like, man, we just gonna have this fun series. It's going to be so cool. And then God's like, oh, I'm going to kind of put some sauce on that. But it's like, hey, come back in your life, but also come back to church. Just 9:30, 11:15. It don't change every week. So you're going to have to come back to hear the rest of it. But the end of the story in verse chapter 5. So he says, I'm going to actually go back. So I want to make sure that I'm going to read kind of where we left off. Please come near to me. So they came near to him. He said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Now let's go to verse 5. But now, decades later, after I've been through setback after setback after setback after setback, and if you don't know the story, and again, I don't want to ruin the next several weeks, but Joseph, the dream did come true. He actually became like the most powerful guy in Egypt other than Pharaoh. But he would have never gotten there if he would have stayed in his daddy's tent and not gotten knocked off of his course a little bit. He had never been to Egypt before. He didn't know about the culture. He didn't know how to serve them. But when he got there, he realized, okay, maybe after all these decades of when I was sitting in the dark place in prison and I was thinking about what I'd said to my brothers and I was thinking about all these decisions, maybe this isn't necessarily just about me. Maybe this is about God using me for a greater good. So he says, therefore, don't therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves. You literally sold me into slavery. And I know that's a strong word. I know there's so much turmoil in our country and so much of a history with that. But this was real. He was a slave. He was in chains. He was hungry. He was starved. Hey, don't be angry with yourselves that you sold me into slavery. Because you sold me here. Woo. You sold me here, but God sent me here. I've been preaching 35 minutes just to get you to this place. You sold me here, but God sent me here. And God sent me here even though you sold me, even though you abandoned me, even though you hurt me. God actually sent me here to preserve your life. His brothers weren't just some dudes. You ever heard of the tribes of Israel? They're named after his brothers. You ever heard of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob is his dad. Like, pretty important family. And someone needed to save them because there was a famine in the land. So God sent me ahead of you, and I had to go through some stuff that was hard, and I was blazing a trail, and I didn't have a map, and I didn't have a compass, and I was just being bounced around, but God sent me ahead to prepare some things. For see, these 2 years, the famine has been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. See, that's the vision God gave him. It wasn't about people bowing down to him. It was about a plan to save not only your family, but to save the entire nation of Egypt. 2 nations, 2 people groups that really didn't get along very well, but I'm going to send you with a plan to save them. And God sent me before you. Wait, didn't he just say this? Didn't he just say, God sent me before you to preserve life? I'm going to say it again. God sent me. God sent me before you to preserve a posterity for you in the earth. To make sure not only that you're taken care of, but your children and your children's children. And the promise that God gave Abraham, I'm the one that's making this happen right now. But it's not about me anymore. Because I realized through my setbacks that it was really the setup. That it was really God setting me up to where he could use me. Let's all stand together. I'm going to keep going for just a few more minutes. We got plenty of time. The bounce houses will be here, trust me. To preserve a posterity for you in the earth. And to save your lives. I just need y'all to get the weight of this. They wanted to kill him. Like, selling him was the act of mercy. Like, wow, man, that's really generous of you. To save your lives by a great deliverance. So now, I'm going to say it again. You're like, is this guy repeating? No. He keeps repeating himself. So now, it was not you who sent me here, but God. And I've never really seen this before. That's what I love about the Bible. You can read the same thing over and over. You see, and he has made me a father to Pharaoh. A father to the most influential person in the world at the time. The most wealthy person in the world at the time. See, my plan was that my little brothers over here, you know, we're kind of a Bedouin type community, and we live in tents, and I'm gonna have all the tents. All my brothers are gonna bow down to me. Now you got all the pyramids. Now you got all of Egypt looking up to you and calling you father, calling you mentor, calling you a leader. See, that's why some of you need to realize that you don't want to settle for what you thought was the good idea. Because it may be a couple decades, you may get abandoned, people may stab you in the back, you might be lonely, you may not have anybody to vent to, but eventually, the dream that God has given you, it's going to be better than you ever asked or imagined. That's Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20. It's not just going to be your little brothers, it's going to be Pharaoh and the Lord of all of his house and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. And so what I just want to leave us with today, and this is what we have to get. And like I said, we're going to be talking a little bit more about some, family and different things, a little bit more practical. But before we get to any of that, you have to realize, what is your focus going to be? The setbacks that you've been through, the issues that you've been through, the punches that you've taken, the waves that you've gone under, are you going to be thinking about what happened to you? And how hurt you are, and how messed up, and that shouldn't have happened to me, and they shouldn't have said that. And no, they probably shouldn't have. But are you going to focus on what happened to you, or what God is going to do to use that, to use through you? He didn't choose to be sold, but he chose to be sent. See, sent is a choice. Those of you in here that God is speaking, and I'm speaking that there's a comeback in your life. Maybe you can't choose the things that happen to you. Maybe you can't choose the past and the struggles that you've gone through, but you can choose the perspective that you have. Because the thing is they really did sell him. So when he's saying, oh, it wasn't you, it was God, that's him choosing that I'm going to believe that God's plan is greater than the hurt that I've been through, the circumstances that I've been through, the setbacks that I've had, that my comeback is going to be greater. So it's a decision. Just need to speak this to somebody in here that situations may not change, but you can change. I believe in the pit, in the prison, that there was a change in Joseph where he didn't know if he was going to get out or not, but he said, I'm going to change me. I'm going to change the lens that I look through. I'm going to change my perspective. It happens inside of me. And so when God sends you, you have to realize that you can survive anything. Because if he sent you, he's going to make sure that he takes care of you. If he puts you in the situation, he's going to make sure that he gets you out of the situation. So if God sent you, then you have to realize that you can survive. And then you have to realize that it's not about status. It's not about who you can be, but that when God sends you to do something, it's always for other people. Yes, you'll be blessed. I mean, Joseph was blessed. He was wealthy. He was a ruler. I mean, he got blessed. But the main point was the salvation of his family. The family that rejected him, that left him for dead, that forgot about him, that when they saw him, they didn't even want to talk to him because they were so embarrassed and they weren't sure. It wasn't like they were begging for forgiveness. They just kind of tried to stay away a little bit. That same family is the one that he said, I'm going to change my perspective. I'm going to change my lens. And I'm going to realize that all of this that I've gone through, all of these setbacks, all of these problems, all of these punches that I've taken, that all of it is a setup to bring life to someone, to bring salvation to someone, to bring breakthrough in an area, to use my testimony to encourage someone. Yeah, I'm not happy about it. Yeah, I wouldn't have chosen that. I wouldn't have chosen to be sold, but I'm going to choose that I'm no longer going to identify with being sold. I'm now going to identify with being sent. I'm no longer going to identify with what happened to me. I'm going to identify how God is going to use me. I'm going to identify with the future that he has for my life. So as we close today, with every eye closed in this place, I believe that there's so many believers in here where hopefully over these last few moments, you've realized that God has a setup for you, that it may be painful. You may have gone through some things. You may still be going through some things. You'll probably go through some more, but he's with you. He guides you. He strengthens you. So if you're in this place and every eye is closed, it'll just be myself and our other pastors. But if this is just a prayer, I think this could honestly be everyone. But I want you to do it as a step of faith. But if you're in here, you say, Pastor Alex, I need some encouragement to keep standing back up. The enemy's been knocking me down. He's been knocking me over. And I need a little encouragement to get back up. If that's you, just lift your hand. I just want to see who I'm praying for. I'm going to say a prayer. I'm going to go back into worship. There's hands going up. Again, it's just myself and our other pastors looking. Dear Lord, every person that's raised their hand, Lord, that you would help us to see that the setbacks that we've gone through are really a setup to step into the destiny that you have for us, the vision that you have for us, the purpose that you have for us. In Jesus' name.